The 7th Disney resort has just been announced by the Walt Disney Company, and its location? Abu Dhabi. But not all Disney fans are excited about the news. Let's talk about those fans, especially those of a particular persuasion, who weren't exactly thrilled about the company setting up a new Disney resort in the Middle East, but might not have voiced any concerns about certain Disney parks in the Far East, here on That Park Place. Well, speaking of exploring talents, it looks like Disney is exploring the talent of licensing its IP to other places. Oh yes, what are we talking about? We're of course talking about Abu Dhabi Disney. Well, you may have heard yesterday before
sounds like a Sherman Brothers song, Abu Dhabi Disney.
Abu Dhabi Disney. As you may have heard before the Q2 fiscal year 2025 earnings call yesterday, they shocked the world with a surprise announcement for their 7th theme park destination, and that being one in Abu Dhabi. Now, unlike other theme park ventures that they've gone into in the past, this one is very unique in that it will be a joint venture between the Walt Disney Company and Morale. And when I say joint venture, I really mean Disney is just going to be licensing their product and offering its design services to Morale, in which Morale will be footing the bill, providing a large lump sum, I'm sure, in advance for the Walt Disney Company, and they'll be operating it from then on out. This is not going to be a partnership in which, you have a percentage owned by the Walt Disney Company. This is basically a royalty play, which has people very interested, and it also has people very upset. Perhaps rightfully so, given where this Disney theme park is going to be located. And we have some reaction from people sharing their opinions online. And I think this is very, very interesting. Let's go ahead and play at least one of them right now.
Disney has just announced they are building a new theme park in Abu Dhabi. I'm here live in Disney World, and obviously it's insane news that Disney is going to build another park worldwide. They have 6 right now. They have the 2 in the US, Disneyland Paris, Shanghai Disney, Tokyo Disney, and Hong Kong Disney. And so it makes sense that they're trying to reach a different audience by going in a spot that they don't have a park yet. And I have to say, it has always been on my bucket list to go to all of the worldwide Disney parks. But
It's always been on my bucket list to go to all of the Disney parks worldwide. Now, that's very interesting because, as she's going to relay right here, that she has some problems with where this is specifically located, and yet didn't have a problem with the previous iterations of Disney, especially those set up in China itself. Jonas, this is very odd to have this opinion.
Maybe the communism out in California has got her turned around here, but the regime in charge of China right now, and we're talking about the Chinese government as opposed to the Chinese people here, although if you're not a member of the party out there, you may not be able to function in the government in any way in China or own a business in China in any way. But it's not exactly like we're comparing apples and oranges. We're comparing a Red Delicious to a gala here when we talk about what the Chinese government is up to versus what the accusations against the Middle East. It's so odd to me that all of a sudden, the Shanghai park over here. Okay, do you understand the involuntary pay levels that might have been paid to people who worked on that park versus the people who will be working on this one out in Yas Island over there in UAE. I think they're pretty comparable here. It's just different flavors of the same despotism. I think that word is probably going to be fine with YouTube. I'm being very careful on YouTube to not just call a spade here.
Sure. But Jonas, let me point out to you something that I didn't even realize until we just saw that footage. Maybe Disney is okay with this because in Abu Dhabi, men in dresses.
they got confused. They thought they were being progressive. Yeah.
I am quite surprised that she hasn't concentrated very, very hard on the camp, actually looking right outside Hong Kong, and maybe rethought about visiting. But she goes on.
the issue that I have with them choosing Abu Dhabi. So I am gay, as is my brother, obviously, as is my girlfriend, as is my brother's husband. And in Abu Dhabi, it is illegal to be a homosexual. You can be imprisoned or even killed for it. And while many times this does not impact tourists, I personally would never go to a country that could be a risk that I could face.
Well, Shanghai, I'm thinking this person has never been to China. Bless her heart. That's the phrase we would use in the South. Bless her heart. Oh my goodness. Also, can I say this? Yas Island right now, I know of employees that are gay that work in that complex there, keep their business to themselves, and there's not a problem.
Yes, and it's just very, very interesting to see the sentiment from fans right here. Matt Desmond, who we featured on this channel before, at least his recordings of certain events that have taken place at Disneyland, says, "I would love to rope drop Buffy the Buffalo." This is in response to a tweet from Mouse Info that was a little bit more sarcastic with its predictions, let's say, of what was going to occur in Abu Dhabi. But unfortunately, it is a crime for me to exist in Abu Dhabi. Hopefully, the next country that gets a Disney theme park has a better human rights record. Yes, a lot of people were very, very upset with this announcement and so forth. Every creative decision they make for this Disney park is an expansion that could have been added to a domestic park. Every show, every ride, every attraction. That's an interesting point here made by Disney Scoop guy. So there's another argument being made here by Disney Parks fans that the resources that could have necessarily gone towards domestic parks or international parks and so forth will be diverted for this theme park enterprise right here. I have a split view on this because I think they will be ramping up in terms of their hiring at Walt Disney Imagineering in order to accommodate for this. But no doubt, I think some resources, at least creatively, will be diverted for this new theme park venture out there in the Middle East. Ron, how do you feel about that?
So they diverted all their good talent to Universal, so it doesn't really matter. Honestly, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know who they're going to get to work on this. I would assume they actually might do a lot of the hiring from people over there, but also there are the creatives versus the people that actually build the park. There is going to be a huge difference between those workers and let's just say how they're treated and get paid. Also, I'm looking at this park. This is not just for people of the persuasion that young lady spoke of, but also they have public displays of affection laws in general. So they do not want straight couples also making out in the parks, which actually, while I don't like the repercussions for it, I do think that in general, I don't really want that either. I would like to be able to go to any theme park and just see people behaving as let's just say respectfully in a family park situation. I'm not sure about the holding hands issue, but I think that's okay over there from what I was trying to read and like research what that area of the world is like. I know a lot of, vloggers and people that have gone over there and experienced that area, experienced Yas Island. There, it looks like there's some incredibly cool attractions over there on Yas Island that I myself would love to see, like the Batman thing, the Warner Brothers area, that their version of a SeaWorld, which is completely different than ours, looks amazing. Again, there is a question of how will Disney going over there affect that culture, and then how will that culture affect Disney? So there is, I don't know the goods or bads of this. What I do know is at the end, it really does look on the surface to me like Disney's, like all the virtue signaling that they've done for the last 15, 20 years of a certain persuasion in the United States, they are willing to throw out the window for this. On the surface, this looks like nothing but a money grab because Disney doesn't have to pay for it. But I have no idea. Really, it's a very strange move to me. And again, I think all of the criticisms that Disney is putting no money in their domestic parks and ruining things like taking away Rivers of America, those criticisms are all fair.
Yeah, they won't be getting any original stuff in the U.S. parks because of this, but but you'll have someone else footing the bill for for the development of new attractions and rides and shows out there in the Middle East, and then they can port them over to the US at a lesser cost. I'm sure that whatever the deal is, there might be some exclusivity windows here of 5 years or something like that. But for the most part, this is going to be just like it is for Japan. The Disney company will develop something for this park, and then they will probably have the rights to it or have a more familiarity with the technology before they put it in the US park. I think in this instance, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, Jonas. I want to get your thought on that.
I think in this instance, Disney is allowing something to happen because they're getting that huge check. They'll be right next to Warner Brothers Land. So this is the Disney's Animal Kingdom of Yas Island. This is not the primary reason that people would be going to Yas Island, or maybe it is. But again, SeaWorld, Warner Brothers Land, Yas Links, which is I love that they're talking about anti-LGBT stuff, and it's called Yas. that irony is not lost on me here. Also, of course, Ferrari World, which is tallest, fastest roller coaster. So if you like coasters, you can do a day at Ferrari World, and then you can do a day at Disney. Ticketing will be separate from the Disney company's ticketing, in the same way that Tokyo ticketing is different from the rest of the Disney company. So
my Magic Band won't work over there.
No, I don't think it will. And I think you're right, Ron, that this is a cash infusion, especially when they need it in order to support their own domestic and international interests with their turbocharging of their $60 billion program there. Also, too, they still have to pay for Hulu, and that's going to cost at least $8 billion, if not more. Well, they've already earmarked an additional $5 billion, but it could even be more than that. And also on the virtue signaling point, I want to go ahead and just provide this right here. People are kind of figuring out what this is all about right here. In that, for all of their pontificating, for all of their virtue signaling, they really don't really have virtues, as I think beautifully illustrated right here. This by DLP fan Chris. Disney, we removed Celeste Mountain, and there will be no more ism in our parks. Also, Disney, welcome to Disney Abu Dhabi. Please don't be any of the followings. And they talk about involuntary labor as well, and I think that's important to point out here, that for everything that Disney company says outwardly, their actions speak louder than their words. Albertus Magnus 44 with the 199. Disney still has creative resources. Are you sure? Well, look, I'm not saying they're great creative resources, but they do have some people at Walt Disney Imagineering who call themselves Imagineers, even though imagination might be lacking. Albertus Magnus 44 with the 499. What does this say about Disney's commitment to the alphabet agenda? Well, at least overseas, they're happy to take that money. And that's the other thing, too, that I want to point out here as well. Something I forgot during the segment. As this was actually going on, I got a notification on my phone. That was very, very interesting. On the same day that Disney announced this new theme park venture in Abu Dhabi, I got a notification from the Disneyland app that says, "Get your tickets now! Disneyland After Dark Pride Night is back." So that's kind of the ironic thing is...
You're saying there's not going to be Pride Night in Abu Dhabi?
No, I don't think there will be a Pride Night in Abu Dhabi. But I think what's ironic here, Ron, is that while they're accepting money from a country that has no tolerance for things like that, they're also putting on Pride Night events at their domestic theme park there in Anaheim, California. That right there, the ultimate irony.
That's because when Bob Iger sat down with those guys from Miral, they said, "Hey, Bob, you ain't never had a friend like me."
That's pitch perfect, as the kids would say.
Thanks for watching That Park Plays News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.